Today I'm breaking down the Solo Hunter's ability tier list, explaining which abilities are actually worth using, which ones fall off, and which builds they work best with as you progress through the game. Abilities in Solo Hunters define how fast you clear dungeons, how safe your runs are, and how well you scale into late game, so picking the right one early can save you dozens of hours. This tier list is based on real dungeon performance, scaling, survivability, and how each ability holds up from early game all the way into endgame. Abilities, also called runes, are cooldown-based combat tools that scale primarily with stats, mastery, and gear. Unlike basic M1 attacks, abilities provide burst damage, AoE, crowd control, and debuffs, which makes them extremely important early and mid-game. However, not all abilities scale equally, and rarity alone does not determine strength. Some lower rarity abilities outperform higher rarity ones simply because of better utility and consistency. S-tier abilities, best in the game. These abilities offer the best mix of damage, safety, and long-term scaling, and are dominant in both dungeon clears and boss fights. Shadow Scythe is easily one of the strongest abilities in Solo Hunters. It delivers massive AoE cleave damage, making dungeon clears extremely fast. It synergizes perfectly with high-strength builds, applies debuffs on certain skills, and benefits heavily from mastery upgrades. The biggest reason Shadow Scythe is S-tier is how safe and consistent it is. You don't need risky positioning to get full value, and it scales into late game better than almost anything else. Divine Blade excels at burst damage, especially against bosses. It can deal pure damage that ignores defense, applies damage over time effects, and has a surprisingly low cooldown for a mythic ability. This makes it incredibly reliable for boss farming and elite enemies. If you prefer precise, controlled damage instead of massive AoE spam, Divine Blade is one of the best choices in the game. Dual daggers are perfect for aggressive melee players. They feature multi-hit skills, extremely high DPS, penetration debuffs, and scale insanely well with burst-focused builds. While they require better positioning and movement compared to ranged abilities, skilled players are rewarded with some of the highest damage output possible. In the right hands, dual daggers absolutely belong in S-tier. A-tier abilities, very strong but slightly situational. These abilities are powerful and viable, but may require more investment or have small drawbacks compared to S-tier. Light is one of the most popular abilities for a reason. It has excellent AoE, strong crowd control, solid range, and can even heal the user based on damage dealt. It pairs extremely well with magic builds and works great in both solo and team play. Its only downside is slower mastery progression, but once upgraded, Light becomes one of the most reliable abilities in the game. Nature has been moved up to A-tier because of its strong DOT spreading, healing utility, and solid synergy with most builds. While it doesn't have insane burst damage, it shines in sustained fights and dungeon clears where enemies are grouped together. Nature's survivability boost and consistent damage make it far more useful than many players realize, especially in mid-game progression. Crimson focuses on burn damage over time and lifesteal, scaling with both strength and magic. It provides decent burst for clearing mobs and offers survivability through healing, but requires closer positioning, which can be risky in harder dungeons. Crimson is strong but less forgiving than ranged options. Goliath is built for tanky players who value crowd control over raw damage. Its abilities apply stuns, knockback, and long-duration CC, making it ideal for survivability-focused builds. While it clears slower than S-tier abilities, Goliath is extremely consistent and safe, especially in extended dungeon runs. B-tier abilities, usable but outclassed. These abilities work, but are generally less efficient or fall off later. Lightning has been moved to B-tier. It's fast, beginner-friendly, and offers decent AoE and DPS early on. However, it lacks debuffs, strong scaling, and falls behind other abilities as dungeon difficulty increases. Lightning is still a solid early game option with its high range, but it gets outperformed once you unlock stronger abilities. Darkness focuses on debuffs and moderate burst damage. While it synergizes decently with burst DPS builds, its high cooldowns and mana costs make it inefficient in longer dungeon runs. It's usable, but simply not optimal compared to higher tier options. C-tier abilities, not recommended. These abilities struggle heavily in the current meta. Vines offers short-duration roots and minor damage over time, but its damage is extremely low and cooldowns are long. Crowd control is easily replaced by better abilities, and Vines lacks the scaling needed for harder content. It's quickly outclassed and not worth long-term investment. Early on, ranged abilities like Light and Lightning are safer because defense stats are low. They allow you to clear enemies without getting one-shot and farm bosses more efficiently. This is why most players start with ranged abilities before transitioning into melee builds later. Mastery unlocks additional skills and dramatically improves ability performance, but mastery gains slow down significantly later. Because of this, choosing a strong ability early is critical. Switching abilities late game is painful and time-consuming, so committing to a good one early saves a lot of grinding. In late game, many players move away from abilities entirely and rely on melee damage with mythic weapons. Melee builds offer unlimited damage without cooldowns, better survivability, and insane synergy with endgame gear. Abilities then become secondary tools rather than your main damage source. Final recommendations. If you're new, start with Lightning or Light for safety, then transition into Shadow Scythe or Divine Blade once available. Mid-game players should prioritize Nature, Light, or Crimson depending on playstyle. Endgame players will benefit most from Shadow Scythe, Dual Daggers, or full melee builds with abilities as support tools. That's the complete Solo Hunter's ability tier list, based on real performance, scaling, and efficiency. If you want faster clears, safer runs, and better progression, this list will help you avoid wasting time on weak abilities.